Hello again, and welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be doing my most overrated fragrant roses, or as I like to call them, the roses that aren't as fragrant as the producers of roses or the consumers say they are. So, what are my most overrated roses and fragrance? Well, let's begin. My first overrated rose on fragrance is a rose called Laguna. Now, Laguna is one of those roses Cordes will claim is extremely scented. I can't remember if it's 4 or 5 stars in their catalog. But in my opinion, even though it has some scent, it's like a 6 out of 10 for me. So I would say the fair rating of Laguna Rose is 3 out of 5 stars if you want to go with the ranking system of Cordes roses. So I don't agree with Cordes that it's a 5-star rose. The reason I don't do that is because they have something like Kiss Me Kate, and they have a lot of good scented climbing roses that are just stronger in scent. And if Laguna is placed as highly as them, there's just something wrong with the rating system. And I really have no clue why Laguna is ranked so high on fragrance. It's a wonderful rose because of the health of it, but also because of the color of it. So it's not like I'm telling you not to grow this rose. I'm just telling you to not grow it solely for fragrance, because it will disappoint you if you're just after fragrance on it. So that was Laguna. And we'll go back here. Let's go back to our list and see what the next one is. Yes, the next one is very famous English climbing rose. And I'm going to upset a lot of people here, I think, because next rose is Strawberry Hill. Now, don't get me wrong, Strawberry Hill is a wonderful rose for many reasons. But the issue I have with it is I tend to rank this one, I would say 6 out of 10, no more, no higher than 7 out of 10. It is not, it is a medium scent in my opinion, a really pleasant medium scent. But the issue I have with this rose is Austin ranked it as strong on scent. Here, they wrote it was a strong myrrh scent. But you know what else they wrote was a strong myrrh scent? They also wrote Woollerton Old Hall was a strong myrrh scent. And let me tell you, Woollerton Old Hall is probably the most fragrant English rose in his assortment. At least it is for me. It is the most fragrant English rose in my opinion. But if they're both strong myrrh fragrance, and what I'm sending out in the garden is Woollerton Old Hall being almost at least 2 times, I'll nearly say 3 times stronger on scent than Strawberry Hill, then there's simply something wrong with Strawberry Hill being a strong scented myrrh fragrance. So I believe Strawberry Hill is a bit overrated. I believe Strawberry Hill should be brought down to a medium myrrh fragrance. Like, for me, it's a 6 out of 10. It's a wonderful rose, don't get me wrong, and it's well worth growing. But if you're really after scent, it is not my first pick for sure. So just keep that in mind. But it's a wonderful, healthy rose, and it'll do you well. It's not that, but you can do better on fragrance. And next up, we have another rose that will really upset a lot of people. It's another Austin rose. It is Bring Me Sunshine. Now, a lot of people claim this as one of the most fragrant roses they have ever tried. It might be true, because there's a caveat. It is Bring Me Sunshine is more sandalwood, more tea fragrant, and it is more like the rose a lot of you have, like Golden Celebration on scent. So it is not like this really pleasant, what most people imagine when they scent like perfume or citrus or fruity, or what you would normally assume a lady's perfume is scented like. Like Bring Me Sunshine is completely different. It is more tea. It is more these more smoked notes, sandalwood notes. So just be aware of that. It's a wonderful rose because of the color change and also the health of it. But if you're going after that really old rose fragrance and you hear this is a really scented rose, then that might spark the wrong associations in your mind, because you might be thinking in your mind, oh, this is a really, really scented like a lady's perfume. But don't think that. Think when you are opening a tea bag with green tea and the scent you get in there, and then think some sandalwood and some patchouli and stuff like that. So if you like the thought of something that's more smoked, more green tea, then I would say Bring Me Sunshine gives you about, I would say, around a 7 out of 10 for tea notes on that. But it is that caveat. Do you like the scent of that? Because it is often different from people if what we are sending. Because for me, it's not really one of my favorite scented roses, because I'm not that huge on even though I like drinking tea and I like sending tea. This was probably a rose I wouldn't have given as large a spot in my garden if I know it was just that scented. I would scented of tea. I would probably only have bought one instead of three, but yeah, keep that in mind. And let's continue here. I just have to go back to our list and see here. Yeah, the next one is also going to cause people a lot of upset, I think, but I'm going to stay very truthful to what I'm observing in my garden. It's kind of like the wine world. In the wine world, I also tend to make people upset, because sometimes I say Grand Cru, a first Grand Cru, a second Grand Cru is on level with a fourth Grand Cru. But when you think about it, you can have a really good fourth Grand Cru and a really bad second Grand Cru. So yeah, and it's the same with roses. Like the most popular roses can sometimes be overrated. Sometimes people get carried away. So the next one is Gabriel Oak. Now, I have 3 Gabriel Oaks in my garden, and I have planted them in a mass, and I planted them for this color effect. As you can see, they're kind of more red and more magenta, and they switch. It's a good rose for that, but on fragrance, it's only a 6 out of 10 for me, with a little bit of that. Yeah, well, if I'm being honest, it can go up to a 6.5 to a 7, but most of the time it's a 6 out of 10. It has the typical Gallica, a very faint Gallica fragrance where there's a bit of raspberry. So I would say if you're after scent, even though Gabriel Oak is a wonderful rose for the color effect, I would say if you're just after scent, you should go with another English rose called Young Lycidas. Young Lycidas is about an 8 out of 10. It's very similar to Gabriel Oak, but much more scented. And if you're not after the color change, Young Lycidas will give you much of the same as Gabriel Oak, just much more scent. Or if you are so lucky, you can find a Munstead Wood. Munstead Wood will also give you a lot more scent and a lot more deep red. So consider that when you're picking Gabriel Oak. The real reason for picking Gabriel Oak, in my opinion, is you want to create this more shrub of color change at the back of a border. But yeah, so keep that in mind. And the next one is Desdemona Rose. Desdemona Rose is one of those I really want to like because it's so romantic. Like, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Earth Angel sometimes. Earth Angel was also one I wanted to really like. This one does not ball up as badly as Earth Angel, but it's also not as fragrant as a lot of people will claim. It's like I would say a 6.5 out of 10 for me. Really romantic shape and all that. doesn't really bloom so much for me and can sometimes suffer a little bit of health issues, but borderline, it's not, you expect it, and when you read about it, you expect it to be like an 8 out of 10, but then you get it in your garden for a few years and you realize it's more like a 6.5 out of 10. So this is one of those roses I would say buy it more because of the way it looks, not as much because you think it is fragrant. And it can still be a wonderful little pot rose for you. Like sometimes the English roses I don't want to plant 3 of in my garden end up being really beautiful pot roses for me. So sometimes you have to work with what you got. And let's see here. And the next one is, of course, a Golden Celebration, and it is for the same reason as what I said about Bring Me Sunshine. It's not as strongly scented. It's about a 6 out of 10 on tea scent. But while Bring Me Sunshine has amazing health and flowers a lot, Golden Celebration does not really have amazing health and it does not really flower a lot. But what it does have is a very special amber color. And the fragrance is very similar. It's tea notes, a bit of sandalwood. But the reason I don't really think this is a fragrant rose that should be top of your list is sometimes black spot issues and also the fact it doesn't always flower much beyond the first flush. But it can get these massive amber color blooms that work so well for social media because people will post the first flush of it where you see this large healthy bush with a large healthy amber colored bloom, and then people will go like, oh my gosh, I need that rose, and then you read a lot of places, oh, very fragrant. So it's a good rose if you can look past the health issues. You just want something amber colored, but to be honest, it should be at the lower end of your Austin list if you're buying for fragrance. So let's go back here again and take a look at our list. So I'm sure we don't skip anything. Yeah, we're leaving the Austin roses now and we're going to the German roses. We're going to go with Augusta Louise now. Augusta Louise is another of those roses you read a lot of times. It's extremely fragrant. But to be honest, I get nearly no fragrance on this rose at all. It's a wonderful color change and it looks pretty and all that. But if you're looking just for fragrance, I would really skip this rose because it's not as fragrant as people claim it is. So I nearly get no fragrance on it. And if it's a fragrance, it's a very faint fragrance, like 5 or 4 out of 10. So let's continue here. The next one is Capri Rose. And that is both Capri and Lady Capri. If I can write both. Lady Capri Rose. So Capri and Lady Capri Rose. Sadly, both of these are claimed to be really strongly fragrant by Tantown, but I don't get much fragrance on them at all. I wish I did because I really like the color tone of it, but fact of the matter is I'm getting at most a 5 to 6 out of 10 on these, and oftentimes what I'm getting is these more tea notes and more spice notes, and they can be really, really well hidden. And to be quite honest, when I say a fragrant rose, it's not really a rose where I'm having to guess some spice notes at the back of a rose. It is a rose when I bring my nose within 30 centimeters of the rose, I can sense there's something going on. And sadly, Lady Capri and Capri Rose just hasn't delivered that as of late for me. So I wanted to like them, but sadly they disappointed me. But maybe there's still hope. Maybe they'll turn a new leaf. Another rose of the German roses I haven't gotten a lot of scent on is a rose called Candlelight. Candlelight is another one of those that in a lot of places is described as really fragrant, but when you stick your nose into it, you get a little bit of green tea, in my opinion. So it is again one of those, if I'm being generous, 5 to 6 that are hopelessly overrated, in my opinion. So, and we'll go back here. Let's see. Next one is actually a decently fragrant rose. It's Jasmina rose. But the issue I have with Jasmina is she's not always the most reliable fragrant for two reasons. She tends to come in a large flush, usually 2 flushes if you're lucky. And even though she can be really fragrant, like a 7 to a 7.5, what sometimes happens is the fragrances sometimes just disappear on her and you don't get the fragrance, and other times she's extremely fragrant. And then that combined with the fact she tends to not be in bloom because she tends to do these flushes can be extremely, how to say it, difficult, because a lot of times she's not reliable on the fragrance, even though she's pretty. And these two factors, that she tends to bloom in flushes and sometimes the scent is very selective about the day, tends to make her less reliable than a lot of other climbers. And you have so many other reliable climbers, like, as I said before, Kiss Me Kate, much more reliable on the scent. You have Gertrude Jekyll. You have all these. You have so many pink climbers that are extremely reliable on scent, which is why Jasmina is kind of like a love-hate thing for me, because it's a wonderful rose when the scent is there and all the blooms are there, but it's not as reliable as some of the other fragrant climbers, in my opinion. So yeah, let's go back here and let's have a look at our list again. Yeah, we have one rose left, unless I decide to add more in the last minute. This rose is really one that has divided the waters, because it is a rose I see a lot of Americans saying is extremely scented, while here in Europe I've never really thought of it as very scented. So let's go have a look, because sometimes I have noticed some difference between continents in how well perceived roses are on scent. And I don't know if it is the different rootstock that's grown on. I don't believe so, because in America a lot of it is Dr. Huey, where in Europe it's multiflora, or if it's simply sometimes confusion, that some roses get mistaken identity and then they get propagated as something else. It's sometimes tough to know, but I have noticed that a lot of roses suffering from that. Something like Shanda's Beauty, and yeah, a lot of roses like Shanda's Beauty and the one I'm mentioning now, which is Freesia, and also another rose sometimes called Arthur Bell, can have the same issue. But there are some roses that some people will say is extremely fragrant, and other people will say are not fragrant. And as you can guess, the rose we're coming to now is a Freesia rose. So let me go ahead here and find you Freesia. It is also sometimes called Sunsprite rose. So I'm using the German name here, Freesia, but if you're in a lot of English-speaking countries, it'll be called Sunsprite for you. And even though I think Sunsprite is a wonderful rose, I don't get a lot of scent on it. And my rose was even bought directly from the official nursery. And when I go to my Cordes catalog here, where I got it from, I'll just switch image here so you can see it. When we go to our official Cordes catalog here, and we look up Freesia here. I'll see if I can get the camera to. Yeah, it's tough to see it, but you can maybe skim it here. That you have these 3 stars out of 5, where it says Duft. Duft means scent. 3 stars out of 5, Freesia. So even the German breeder rates it at 3 out of 5. And 3 out of 5 is not much stronger than what I would say is a 5 to 6, and that has been my experience. really growing this rose is not that fragrant for me. It is a medium fragrance if I'm being generous. So I have often thought about what, particularly in America, makes this rose as scented. I've had many theories, and none of them really good because there are a lot of like yellow roses with some stronger scent. I would say you have something like I can't really remember how well Marco Polo looks like close to it. Yeah, you can say Marco Polo here, but you have some roses with scent that can look very similar uh, to Sunsprite or a Freesia, and I have no clue what goes wrong because in a lot of European countries it's not Freesia is not that scented, and while I hear a lot of Americans say it is very scented, Eptide seems to be kind of similar. Eptide also can sometimes divide the waters like Shanda's Beauty can. So it's a giant mystery for me. Maybe it's sometimes roses do grow the rose oil from the soil, and maybe there's different minerals in the in the American soil. I do not know. But one thing I can tell you is if you're considering these roses like Freesia, Shanda's Beauty, Arthur Bell, and Eptide, and a lot of these varieties, my recommendation for you would be to go to the nursery and scent it while it is in bloom because trust me, there's nothing more annoying than buying three of a rose everybody's saying is very scented, only to experience there's no scent at all. So be careful. Be careful with these varieties because there seems to be a lot of a regional difference on them. But yeah, that was really it for today, and take care out there.